All right, folks, welcome aboard. This is just my impressions of the P-47. I've had it now for about 24 hours, and let's basically just start out by dogfighting with it. Just dogfighting against some AI opponents.
Two Antons are off your nose. Engage them.
Here we go. So, first off, I've been playing with this for a little bit now, and I do not know how to fly it. So, you might see some unusual engine cooling practices or all sorts of strange things. This is just kind of me getting my 2 cents out there in the world on how I feel about this P-47. Let's just start out with graphics, great. Actually, I feel pretty good about this plane. Like, there's just there's no way around it. I am on the new channel map as well, and you're gonna see some hard frame rate hits here and there, and I do apologize for that, but I just can't get DCS to run as smoothly as I like, no matter what I try. Ugh. Why won't you die? So basically, I do own every module and have every map, every campaign. So I speak from experience in DCS. I do have real flight experience and what have you. And let's get back, I guess, to graphics. Just right off the bat, I think you can tell that they are pretty top-notch. Something that I really love, and you will too in VR, is just how the metal fuselage looks. Now, I know I kind of meandered off the dogfight there too. But this thing looks great. Something about the metal aluminum, this metal aluminum, there's textures, there's unevenness on the fuselage. I mean, look at that beautifulness. So when you're in VR, you really do see each individual square. Hold on, let me see if I can take evasive. Every little panel on the fuselage has its own depth to it, own height. Oh, I just had an easy kill there I missed out on. And we're also getting close to the city, so frame rates are going to drop. The new map is wonderful. I did a live stream of the new map, and it's gorgeous. Just some frame rate issues with the more dense scenic areas like cities. So that's just my problem, I guess. I don't know. I am running a modern rig, and if you tell, we actually already got damage on the P-47. We're missing a piece of our cowl flap, and something's wrong with our engine, it feels like. I also have 2 butt kickers installed, so the experience is amazing with the butt kicker. I guess we'll get more into that with sound, but no complaints with the graphics. Interior, we're gonna look more at that in a minute, but let's just go ahead and do that now. Let me get a place in the sun and uno momento. It's kind of hard now doing this. All right, there we go. So, interior graphics. You tell me. They look pretty good. We have some of these little glossy, a little too glossy, I would say, on some of these levers, but that's just me being picky. I like the reflectiveness of the throttle quadrant. Everything looks to be pretty much clickable in the cockpit. Going down the line here. We have pretty much everything is going to be clickable, I believe. Whether it's functional, I don't know. That's going to be for Cap and the Grim Reapers to talk about. but just going through everything. These lights here, I press them to light up. Everything's functional there. Everything's functional. Everything's clickable. Of course, this is your cowl flaps. It's great. Primer. Everything works, or everything at least moves, and that's a big important thing, I think. Doop doop doop. Yeah, everything's pretty much clickable. And details, I mean, look at the details of the texture. Floorboards look great. Everything looks great. Look at the back of the plane here. That looks wonderful, doesn't it? Bam, bam, bam. Now the rivets, screws look really good. Actually, really good. This looks super cool in VR. It's the little things for me, and the shiny objects. The shiny objects, man. Outside, you can see already we have a good sample of. Whoa, what's that? A little graphical glitch there. Oh, look at that little rainbow. One of the better exterior models, I would have to say. Every rivet just pops out. I mean, every panel, pops out. Every little detail seems to really just jump out at you. The inside of the engine, the damage model already, even though it's an early release, I think the damage model is pretty impressive for an early release. Bits of your plane come off. I have IL-2 as well, and it's comparable to that, so that's pretty cute. Now let's get back in the action here. Let's see. So, do I have any complaints about graphics? Just besides something I've seen in DCS, which is kind of a little bit more of a glossier knob, glossy knob. Not really. Looks great, doesn't it? It looks pretty good. So I would have to say it's probably a 4.5 out of 5 out of the box. There's so many little details here. Let me pause it again. Let me get us in the sun, maybe. Kind of different way of doing reviews. I just didn't want to have to go through a cold start and all of that stuff and learn a whole new cold start procedure. I actually tried to do the cold start procedure for this, and it's a little bit, it takes a little finagling, I guess you could say. So it's tricky beast to start up. At least it was for me at first. So I just decided let's start out in the air and just start out where I'm having fun. Look at all the details here. Right? Cool, huh? I'm actually looking behind the console now. Pretty good. I guess we're missing some wires, something. I'm sure that there's wires and stuff that would be behind here, maybe. I don't know. But that's about it. Who needs that if it's going to take up frame rates? Or if it's going to be a performance hit or anything, you're not going to see it. It'll look like this. Look at it at this angle from here. This is pretty much in VR the most you'll ever see. And I mean, look at that. That's awesome, huh? So the quality of the gauges as well. Everything's modeled real well. I mean, you can see the washer. The washer has its own depth. Every little nut, bolt, the little screw there, little notches on there. I mean, we're getting up close and personal on this thing, and it's looking great, doesn't it? It just looks fantastic. Back outside, was there anything else? The damage model is definitely something that I want to show off in this thing. And, let's see if we can't get a little bit more damage, or do a little damage. And, that's not where I wanted to go. So, the second, what did the Grim Reapers do? So now we have number 2, which would be sound. And again, this is not a Grim Reaper review. I am not a good host. Excuse my being terrible at not being too entertaining. But I like to try to get like, or I like to try to get some video of early release video for, to help people. If they want to buy it. Maybe there's something in this video here that you see, or that I said, or whatever, that will save you money, or might make you want to get it and you'll enjoy it, or maybe you won't agree with me. You give me a dislike if you even see it, because it's not like I'm popular anyway, right? Anyway, sound is great for the most part. There was a couple times outside, and I don't know, there was a couple times where I felt like it should be louder. And so I would say right now, as it is, 4 out of 5. The sound with the butt kicker is amazing. I like this. I wanted to wait to talk about this in the flight model, but more or less, we're just going to get this really knocked out as fast as we can. You really feel the radial engine in this. It's unbelievable. This is the first time in a flight sim that I really understand all the hype about the power of a radial engine, and I mean, it's just, there's something different about flying this than flying a P-51, and that that ties into the sound. A lot of that is the sound. It's just a convincing sound to me. It reverberates with the butt kicker very nicely. A sim shaker, like I'm literally feeling the prop and the air and the vibration of the wing under my butt right now. It's insane. It's beautiful. It's a really cool experience. So sounds pretty good. Let's hear it outside. That's amazing. The outside, if we were doing a cap review, we'd say, for me personally, interior is really good. It could be louder. So 4 out of 5. Exterior, that's 5 out of 5. And I am definitely picky about my modules. Listen to that. That's insane. That's a 5 out of 5, right? I'll go through the different pitches, lowering throttle slowly. You can't really hear any differences. I'm on idle, believe it or not. So that could be something that maybe might be a flaw. I'm not sure, honestly. I've never hung on to the exterior of a plane and tried to listen to the various pitches of the throttles, but I don't hear any pitch changes when I'm out here. Okay, now I'm going full throttle. So I might have found something I don't like about the sound. Maybe. I'll try it right here. Okay, idling down. Full idle. We're at full idle now. Okay? So I can't tell the difference as far as sound goes. Exterior. Now interior, let's go back up. It's just like a wash of sound that comes over you. And I'd like to see more of that. That's something that we need more of, I think, like just 10%, 15%, maybe even 20% more volume, more in your face in the inside of the cockpit. Now, I know you have to compare them to other modules, so having a P-47 that's, as loud as a, jet engine probably is not, I know that we've got to keep the other modules comparable sound wise, but if we could just get just a little bit more of that sound, because listen to this. She gets real quiet. That's too quiet to me. This is too quiet. This all of a sudden, this is why I give it a 4 out of 5. This is too quiet. Like, are we gliding? Pulling it back up here. Push the throttle forward, and you've got full range of sound. The nice thing is the range. The bad thing is that doesn't seem right, does it? And you see the engine did cut out there, which is pretty cool. It's all right, let's go ahead and, since we are doing sounds, we do need to see what the clickiness of the cockpit is. I know Cap from Grim Reapers likes doing that, so let's do this ode to Cap. We'll go to training. Oh, no, this is a good time also. So this is what you get with the P-47. Lower that a little bit. P-47 straight out of the box. We've got, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 training missions right out of the box. One thing I hate is when they don't do the alternate maps. Come on, guys. Come on. I paid money for the map. Let me do the training in 1945. Let me do the training sitting out in the channel map, right? No? So anyway, that's my little gripe here is that, but hey, this is early access straight out of the box, and you definitely have, I haven't gone through these yet, of course, but that's everything you need to fly her, right? It looks like it. So that's good. I'd like to see them add the other maps to the training, at least one other map. I think the F-16 does that. I can't remember which aircraft does that. Switching over to the instant action, this is what you'll see under the P-47. So you have a cold start, free flight, landing, dogfight, furball, the 190 dogfight, furball, and then you can go against the door as well as a ground attack. So straight out of the box, you've got quite a few missions, and that's actually, I've been enjoying these. I haven't downloaded any missions or gone into mission editor yet. Also, you're listening to the theme and the wallpaper, which it has its own song. I appreciate that. Like, I think this works, man, and I think the song is fitting. I like the theme. I think they've, but let's go ahead and get back. We were talking about sound. I know I kind of go off on my tangents here. So let's go to aircraft startup right now. We're going to see what this thing sounds like when it's not making a sound. But, so yeah, right out of the box, you get, right now it's $40. I think that's reasonable, right? I own everything in IL-2. I am in no way, rich, but I am definitely an avid sim collector. So, I've seen all sorts of flight sims. I'm getting old now. I've seen them. I remember when the ground was green and the sky was blue, and you had a dashboard that took up half of your monitor. And that's all you got. You got this flat dashboard. Now look where we're at. We're in VR, baby. This is awesome. This is great. So, come on now, DCS. And I do apologize. Like I say, you will see some frame issues. I'm also having latency issues. And it doesn't matter how much I spend on a computer. It seems like I'm always fighting bugs. And that's how it goes. But the training tutorials are really nice.
In this lesson, we'll start in a cold and dark P-47 we need to bring to life. This can be a long process as described in the manual, so you can also...
Now, we're not going to do the startup right now. I actually am...
But for this lesson, I'm
still trying to set up assignments.
And still used by warbird pilots today. The key here is to find a sequence that you can perform every time.
As always, nicely narrated.
You have a lot of discretion while performing other
Looking around the cockpit one more time.
Some prefer to perform actions in a left-to-right sweep, while some prefer to group actions by system or function. The best sequence for you may or may not be the one laid out here, so look for techniques that work best for you. We'll begin with a quick sweep around the cockpit to check for trouble.
The gauges are great. The panel, it's great.
Set the air filter to on for dusty conditions.
It's really good.
Or off if no dust is expected. We're starting on a paved airfield today, so this can be left off. Then, verify the gear handle is down and set the flaps
Some of the
lever
clickies,
forward to
I
the
have
up
issues
position.
trying
We'll
to
usually
click
leave the
certain
flaps up
things.
for takeoff and leave the handle in place to equalize the hydraulic pressure on both sides. That will keep them in sync as they extend and retract.
All right.
Press spacebar to continue.
Okay, here we go. So, for me in VR on the Rift S, I'm having issues sometimes clicking things. It's a little unintuitive. Just like this thing's a little hard to get to, a little hard to activate for some reason. I've heard that click before, so that's a reused click. Let's see, elevator. What do I have? Now, I should have turned, I do have my... Let's just look at my options here. I don't think you can change the audio. Oh, I'll be damned. Yeah, but see, I want it at 100% because I want it to be what the default is. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with default sounds and settings. Could be louder, right? I mean, we got the option to raise the volume, but could be louder. Like this. Of course, you don't even hear it in real life anyway, right? You know, how many times have I gotten in there and... So as you can tell, everything, this kind of feel like would be a little bit louder, maybe a little bit more windy, clicky. Not hearing anything from that. Really don't hear that. All right, so now we'll just go ahead and try with the volume boosted to see if there is sounds. And so now you can see at 224% what it sounds like. Nah, see, I wish they would do some... I think they need to add some sounds to some of this stuff up here. See, that makes a clicky sound. They do a great job of putting those clickies in, and the fact that everything's clickable in this cockpit just really just... Oh, thank God. Thank God we're live in a time where we finally have a VR cockpit that's fully clickable in VR. It's just so amazing. Sorry, I'm getting giddy like a schoolgirl here. Sexy. Sorry. By the way, this is probably going to be a mature-only review, just because, if you can't tell, I can't watch my language. Okay, so things in the cockpit. Okay, there's your brakes. You know, there could be some more sound. I say 4 out of 5 on sound. If this was a full finished product, I would say that's a really low 4 out of 5, like low percentile 4 out of 5. But as an early access, I feel confident in giving that like an early, a 4 out of 5. You can hear the starter, all the starter sounds really good. So I don't have voice attack on. Let me see if I can't pull on the ground power, and we'll look at that. Ground electrical power, bam, on.
Chief, turn on the ground power.
Should have done it with voice attack and been cool.
Copy.
Okay. Now,
Ground power is now on.
I don't even know the startup procedure, guys. So bare. Look at the lighting there. Oh, that's another good thing to look over real quick. Lighting. These things light up. And it looks good. Let's see if we can't get the starter sound. Probably doing this wrong. Probably forgetting everything. Okay, but the clock isn't even running, so what did I do? How did I break it already? Circuit breakers on, positions on lights. Yeah, I don't want to go through the entire tutorial on how to start it up. I just want to get the starter noise. Yeah, I'm forgetting something, aren't I, guys? How embarrassing. Anyway, well, maybe just
now,
in order
check that the fuel boost pump rheostat is rotated counterclockwise to the start altitude position. Then, rotate the fuel selector to main. This puts the fuel system into the correct configuration for startup. Also, set the generator switch up.
All right, we're going to do a tutorial.
This will provide electrical power once the engine is up and operating.
That's it right there, gen switch. Let me guess. Was it a gen switch? Nope.
Next, we test the hydraulic hand pump. Give it 2 or 3 pumps and verify the hydraulic pressure on the main
clicking on that with
increases. This
pulling back on the joystick on the RIF controller.
Built up manually to extend the gear and flaps in the case of a hydraulic pump failure. Press spacebar to continue.
Okay, now what am I missing? Please tell me. What is it? Why is my clock not working?
Controls. Control rods are connected to the stick that move the ailerons on the wings and elevators on the horizontal tails in response to your actions.
Look at that.
Control cables connect the rudder pedals to the rudder.
We have a proper flap
Move the stick and
indicator.
To full range of travel.
Look at the detail out there.
Freedom of movement and the correct response from all the flight control surfaces. If you don't get that, this would be a good opportunity to map your flight controls to the proper access. You can access the control settings by selecting
Come on.
Press spacebar to continue.
What else could I be talking about? Just the engine detailing. The bullet holes through the fuselage. Pretty cool, just like IL-2.
Check for correct operation.
Yeah.
This is usually done with help from the crew chief, but you can verify this yourself by entering the external view, F2. Then, return to the cockpit using the F1 key. For takeoff, we
Beautiful,
set
isn't it?
aileron to neutral.
I wasn't even excited about the P-47, I'll be honest. I've just flown a lot of warbirds.
Elevator to 1/4 inch forward of neutral.
I have like everything in IL-2, and I've been doing combat flight simulator since I was a kid, so
set that to neutral.
P-47 was just never my favorite fighter. I was always a P-51 guy or a 109. I'm an Axis pilot mostly, so Axis planes excite me. And that's what's kind of weird about the P-47, is this is the first P-47 flight model that excites me.
Opportunity to double check your control settings and map your own controls to the proper access. Then, to reset the parking brake, pull the knob, press and release.
I think there was an issue with this too.
Release the knob. The toe brake should remain depressed. This will help.
I had to assign a button to this because it doesn't like to pull out with the joystick. That is a problem here.
Next, let's set the
it does not like to pull out. You have to button assign this parking brake. At least for me.
On the throttle quadrant. Then check and set the altimeter. Now this can be set so the field altitude reads 0, or you can rotate the knob to match the briefed barometric pressure. So the field altitude is the actual altitude above sea level.
I'd still like to know why I don't have power.
It's entirely up to you. Press spacebar to continue.
And the other thing is make this skippable. Come on.
We can wind it by rotating the knob clockwise.
Did I just need to set it?
The clock should already be set to local time, but you may
okay.
adjust
So
by clicking
I was
the
stupid.
knob, then rotating it to the desired time if you wish to work off
Okay, good.
time or
Wonderful.
some other prearranged reference.
Indeed.
Press spacebar to continue.
Thank you. Yeah, they got to make these
open the engine
skippable.
cowl flaps. This is required on the ground to prevent burning of the ignition harness under the cowling. Pull the handle until the cowl flaps open fully. These are hydraulically operated, so use the hand pump to build up some pressure if there's not some in the system already. There is no gauge for their position, but you'll see them very easily looking straight ahead. Press spacebar to continue. And now we come to a series of power on checks to verify operation of the electrically powered instruments and systems. First, set the battery switch to on. Check that the prop governor circuit breaker and all circuit breakers on the main electrical panel are in. If a breaker is extended, push it to reset. If it pops back out, there's a problem, usually an electrical short somewhere in that system. Depending on the importance of the system and urgency of the mission, you may either accept the fault and leave the system disabled, or abort the aircraft. For our purposes, this should be extremely rare, though. Press spacebar to continue.
Yeah, they need to make these
tutorials. Next, we'll test the warning
skippable.
lights. Toggle the 2 test switches on the main electrical panel up and down. Each switch is marked with
I forget it. I'm just going to try what I remember.
The landing gear, fuel level, oxygen, and turbine overspeed warning lights should come on as appropriate. The warning lights may also be depressed to test illumination of the bulbs. Press spacebar to continue. Now, check the fuel quantity indicator on the main instrument panel. Quantity for the main and auxiliary tanks should match the breathed level. These indicators are calibrated for an aircraft in horizontal flight, so use the correction table on the left when on the ground with the nose up. Then, check the oxygen pressure gauge to the right for a full charge.
Yep.
Press spacebar to continue. Then last, we test and set the intercooler and oil cooler shutters. Use the switches to cycle the shutters through their full range of motion as shown on the indicators just to the left. For a normal startup, set both shutters to the neutral position, but in cold weather the oil cooler shutter should be set to closed.
Kind of weird how this works.
To continue.
This switch on top goes to the bottom there, and this bottom switch goes to the top.
We'll start the aircraft using an external battery card connected later by the crew chief. We could start on the battery if needed, but using another power source for startup preserves the charge and extends the service life. Press spacebar to continue. With the basic system checks taken care of, it's time to start the engine. Let's set the levers on the throttle quadrant to the correct position. Now check or set supercharger full aft, throttle cracked forward about 1 inch, prop full forward, and mixture aft to idle cutoff. Press spacebar to continue.
I have to reassign this.
Now let's ask the crew chief to connect the external battery card for startup. Open the communications menu with the / key and select ground crew, F8. Then select ground electric power, F2, and on, F1. Press spacebar to continue after power is applied. The crew chief will have already rotated the prop several turns by hand, so now we prime the engine. Right-click to rotate the engine primer handle out of the locked position, then pull the handle 2 to 4 strokes in hot weather or 4 to 6 if cold. It's a warm day, so prime 3 strokes, then right-click the handle to lock it back in place. Press spacebar to continue.
It's forward on the joystick there, on the right hand.
Now verify the prop is clear and set ignition to both to select both magnetos.
Let's see if I can get her started
the starter switch up to engage, then back to off. This seats the starter brushes. Press spacebar to continue. Now these next few steps can go very quickly, so let's talk through what will happen first. We're going to energize the flywheel for 15 to 20 seconds using the starter switch until the flywheel is up to speed. It's important to get the timing right, so we're going to use the clock at the top left.
This is no joke, folks.
After 15 seconds, we engage the engine by setting the starter switch to engage.
Like starting your lawnmower, mowing the lawn, man. It is not fun to start up.
We'll keep the switch held to engage until the engine fires, then move the mixture control to auto rich. The starter switch can be left and engaged.
Okay, that's all left at me doing this wrong.
To provide a hotter spark and help the engine to catch. Return it to off when the engine is running on its own. Now this requires some dexterity if you're using the mouse to do all this, so consider mapping the starter switch and mixture lever controls to a convenient place. Now when you're ready, press the spacebar and we'll run through this step by step. Okay, check the clock and hold the starter switch to energize for 15 to 20 seconds.
No way. No.
Hey, what are you doing?
Hey. See, I told you about that parking brake, man. Sorry, Chief.
That's 15. Now
I got it started.
Look and listen for the engine to catch. Set the mixture lever to auto wrench and release the starter switch.
I got it started. For some reason last night I could not get this engine started.
No problem. We can deal with that in the next step. Press spacebar to continue.
So there you go, folks. And here you go again with sound. This is too quiet. Right? It sounds like I got my canopy closed. I actually had to check to see do I have my canopy closed. This is too quiet. This is way too quiet. This is a deduction. No-nos. This is not good. There's actually no difference in sound. Not that there's going to be like a huge difference or anything, but there's no difference in sound between closing the canopy. So there's some issues. 4 out of 5 on the sound for that as well.
Hey, what are you doing?
The high grade is just because all the sounds are here. The button clicks are pretty much here, except for these. Again, that's why like it's not a 3 out of 5, because 3 out of 5 would be like we're missing sounds that need to be here. Like we could live with this the way it is, you know, right now. Like we could live with these sounds and feel okay about it. That's why it's a 4 out of 5. So there you go. There's some issues with clicking buttons. A summary of that: clicking buttons, sounds here. Maybe the starter sounds might be a little bit louder, but again, if they're basing that off real life, I don't know. I always vote for hardcore realism, so maybe that's what they're going for. This can't be right, though. I mean, there's no difference between canopy unlock. I mean, a little bit, right? Not enough. All right, so let's move on. Fly model is where this thing is great. That's where we started this review off. Let's go back here. We're gonna just go back to our dogfighting mission. Bam. We're gonna do the A8 because I suck. But this is really where it shines. It really does. This is the first flight model of the P-47 that, first off, I really enjoy flying. I am not a fan of some of the flight models. There's 2 flight models that I like out of all of the warbirds, first off. And, well, of course, the 109. I'm a 109 pilot, especially in IL-2. IL-2, I'm only a 109 pilot, every single variant. So, I do have some bias on the 109, but that's not it either. The 109 just seems to fly the way it should. There's no way of explaining that. The P-51 now is another one that I don't... Now, this is one that... Let me start with the ones I like. Okay, this is why I suck at reviews. So, getting back to what I was saying. We have some really great modules in DCS. So I should have prefaced it with that. But the flight model for the Spit is good. I like the flight model for the Spit. I can deal with that. I think that's really good. The flight model for the 109 is enjoyable, but the flight model for the Focke-Wulf 190, both variants, both Dora and both A8, I am not a fan. I don't like the flight model for that. I know it's not very. It doesn't turn like certain other aircraft and stuff like that, but there's just something not right about the flight model. So I own both 180s and I hate flying them. I just do. I hate flying the 180. And it sucks because in IL-2, I love flying the 180. That's my secondary go-to. Literally out of every single plane in IL-2, the second on the list is the Focke-Wulf Focke-Wulf 190. What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of F-18 right now, am I? Yeah, we've been spending a lot of time in the F-18 cockpit, so sorry about that. So the Focke-Wulf 190 is just... I don't like the flight model. I'm not sure I like the flight model for the Russian bird that we have in here. I don't think I tried taxiing with that thing, and it's just something about it. I know it's going to have a high torque and it's going to pull to the left. I just don't like that one as much. So anyway, bottom line is, now when it came to the P-47, generally in other flight sims, I don't like flying in the P-47 as much. I'm a P-51 guy. I'm a BF-109 guy. I like, maybe a Spitfire. I like, your faster, sleeker, lighter aircraft. I don't like the heavier things normally. This is why this is why the Focke-Wulf is a second on my list. And so already the P-47 off of the bat for me was going to be a problem. Like, it was not going to be a flight model I was going to get totally into. I wasn't going to use it all the time because it's a heavier aircraft. I just like generally flying lighter, more maneuverable aircraft, not the heavier fighters. It's just my own preference. So I knew that, again, P-47 was not going to be high on my list to get. For that reason, it's a classic, and it was something that I'm going to get every single plane anyway, but it's a classic, and I would have got it for that reason. it just wasn't high on my list. So I've got all that out of the way.
2 Antons are
This is great. The flight model in this is, I mean, this feels like we're flying a real P-47. And for the first time, for the first time in my flight sim career, I kind of have a deeper respect for the P-40. And I know they're not done doing this. I know they're not done tweaking the P-47 in any way. But I mean, right off the bat, I can get kills. You know, you're probably not going to see them here because we're live, but like I can get kills real easily. I can, you know, it doesn't black out too fast. That's my big complaint with the P-51. Why do you black out? And like, you don't even have a chance in the P-51. You're just, oh, you're blacked out. Ooh, and there's some damage modeling for you. Yeah, I don't like your flight model. Just wish they'd improve it. This thing, I mean, it zigs, it zags, it goes up, it goes down, you get into these spins, and it feels natural. Like, it just feels so natural. And then you have the butt kicker and all of the other, you know, add-ons that you get with Flight Sim if you choose to go that route. And it flows perfectly with those too. Sim Shaker just right off. I don't have to do any adjustments with Sim Shaker. I don't have to do anything at all. It feels right already. The volume levels on the effects. There is a rumble in the seat from this engine, and it meshes perfectly with the sound. And this is why when I first started the review and we started talking about sound, I go into the flight model and the feeling of this plane, because it's so linked together, the sounds and just how she pulls, how she wobbles to the left, how she wobbles to the right, the torque, just this right here, even though the frame rates are crapping out on me for some reason, I've got both the feeling of air underneath the wings and that G pull. Like, if you've ever flown in a plane and you've done and you've been in a plane that's, falling towards the earth, this feels like this captures that feeling of being in a spin, and it doesn't feel unnatural like in other flight sims. And it looks like we might have to restart the sim anyway because our performance is going down, isn't it? Hopefully it'll pick up a little bit. See, I do have problems with DCS still, so like I say, this isn't, this is not going to be a top review. I just want to put my voice out there for people to get, to get their own opinion. I don't have, much factual things to say. I just want you to see what I see in VR. It's more of the VR experience that I'm kind of, the VR angle, as opposed to, all the technical flight stuff that we could get into about the P-47. So, all in all, it's about the module as a total. Is it fun? It's 5 out of 5. This is a flight model I would not like normally. This is a flight model I would not be interested in. Of course, I would try to stay unbiased anyway, but I mean, this is something that I will be flying and will be excited to fly, and I was not expecting to. So the flight model is a 5 out of 5. Last night, I had like my cowl flap. I had one of the cowl flaps shot off, like you saw that damage modeled earlier. I had that happen to me last night, and I ended up losing the HUD and losing I lost a couple just aircraft systems, let's put it that way. And I ended up giving full chase. I ended up scoring a hit on the 190, and then he damaged me, and then I think I damaged him again, and he headed out. He basically went. I'm going to restart this mission anyway because this is getting really jittery for no reason. Oh, it might be time just to restart anyway. So, long story short, really good experience last night where I chased this 190 across the channel, and I had no gun sight, no nothing, and just kind of using your wits. I ended up getting really low. I tried using some ground effects to speed up my P-47 to increase the closure rate, and it worked. And that's cool. It's like, this is what I would do in real life. I'm getting outrun by an aircraft because of whatever reason. So what things can I use, naturally? Try to get a little ground effect going. Maybe I'll push forward on the stick. Maybe I can get just a few knots extra, a few miles per hour extra. And that was my natural pilot reaction. And I do that in the sim, and it worked. The ground effect worked, and I ended up closing on the 190, and then I blew him out of the sky. It was hell of a lot of fun. I mean, just a hell of a lot of fun. Yeah, guys, so my frame rates are gonna drop down. Yeah, DCS sadly just needs restarts every once in a while for me on my end. I spend 80% of my life tweaking and 20% playing. Let's put it that way. One thing I wish that everybody'd get rid of is these controllers being able to grab the joystick. Like, you should be able to disable your hands from making contact with control surfaces and whatnot. But that's, that is a must. They need to change that. I'm so tired of having my hand controllers grab the joystick out of nowhere and try to kill me when I'm in a critical moment in the mission. So here I am. I'm just kind of leading this 190 now. Might even try to drop in right on top of him. There we go. Like so. And it's getting a little bit harder to fly. And I mean, the torque on this thing, the pull is so evident, but not overdone. Like, and I think I'm taking damage too, aren't I? Probably got somebody behind me, maybe? Yeah, I knew I was taking damage. Well, this is a good example of what kind of damage to expect. And, I was really surprised because when you read a release for the P-47, they made it sound like they didn't have any kind of, I don't know. To me, I had gotten the impression somehow, look at that. There you go. There's your damage. And that's like what we're used to in IL-2. And I love that. And it's so nice to see that kind of damage. Look at that. This is beautiful. We're not even going to inject. We're just going to look at that damage. It's a work art. And it's definitely a 5 out of 5. And so the flight model, and I'm going to include, however you want to do it. Flight model, 5 out of 5. Damage model, it's not done. 4 out of 5. The damage modeling on this thing. But that's it. That's pretty much everything. I can't wait for Cap's review. I'm sure he'll do a great job of going through everything in detail, and look for that, obviously. But for now, yes, get this one. This would be on the top of the P-47. I own all the Warbirds. This, if I had done a trial and had to buy based on, let's say I had to choose 2 modules, the P-47 would be the top module, one of the top modules I would consider, because it's fun. It's fun. It flies the way you think it would fly.
2 Antons are engage them.
Especially when you're not having frame issues like I'm having now, but it flies the way you think it'll fly. It's complicated, so there'll be some learning time, so you'll get the reward from that. It's perfect. It really feels good. It feels powerful. It feels historic. It feels exactly like we've all read and watched on the Discovery Channel. It feels like that P-47. It's not, it's not the top fighter. But I mean, in the hands of somebody like me, it could be, because for whatever reason, this flight model seems to fit my own personal taste. God, this frame rates are just killing me here. You know, you also have the engines, you know, there seems to be some damage that you can do to the plane itself right off the bat. You know, you can cook the engine, I think you can. I know I've done a couple of times I've killed my plane by accident. So for an early access, it's already got, you know, it's already got some of those touchy-feely things that you need to be wary of if you're going to fly this like a real pilot would. You know, you got to keep an eye on cooling. In fact, as I say that, just pull out the cowl flaps a little bit. That's my big secret right now, because I don't know how to fly this thing. I just keep my cowl flaps open and watch the temperature that way. But yeah, no, highly recommend. It's one of the better. I mean, all the warbirds, kind of like Cap says, all the warbirds are kind of, they're almost all good. Like, they're almost all equal, you know. P-47 does kind of stand out for some reason. It definitely does. Maybe it's the new graphics, the flight model, just something about it feels like there's a lot of work put into it. So yeah, if you're looking for the P-47, and this is, I mean, I'm gonna say this honestly right now, this is gonna be shocking, and I am an IL-2, like when it comes to flight model, I am an IL-2 guy. Like, I think that, you know, their flight model is pretty good. But I'm going to say this right now, this is the best flying P-47 I've ever flown. I mean, I go back to DOS days, guys. So, you know, I'm not a P-47 nut. Like I say, I know, you know, I just know my basic history off of it. But this is definitely a module. This is the best P-47 model. It really is. So, and the reasons for this is, well, number one, it's graphics. Well, no, not number one. Number one is going to be flight model for me personally. But I mean, number one, flight model, this just feels like you're flying the real thing. Number two, it's detailed. It's got every little switch is at least clickable. It's got that presence of, there's a real machine I'm piloting here, and you know, that is something you just can't bundle in any kind of flight sim. You just can't, you know. It's really hard to kind of get everything right. And when I say this is my favorite P-47 mod, like my favorite P-47 flight sim that I've ever flown, it is. And it's for me by a distance, you know. And everybody's going to have their own thing. They're going to have their own way of feeling, you know, how they feel about the flight model. But I mean, this thing just, I can do stuff like I go into spins that I've read about, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you read in the history books, you know, or you watch on the Discovery Channel, you know, a fighter pilot talking about, you know, something happened to his P-47. Like, you know, it responds like you read in the history books. Like, it flies like history has said it does. So it meets it on a historical criteria. It meets it on a flight sim dogfighter. I mean, I think this will be a decent dogfighter, right? You know, on multiplayer, this is going to be good. You know, I'm not a big multiplayer dogfighter guy right now. I was on IL-2, but DCS, I don't even understand the server system. I haven't really looked into it that much. So. But I mean, I've flown every single module. I own every single module, and this would be one of my go-tos if I wanted something as far as flight goes, as far as just the dogfight goes. You know, I wanted something that was relatively easy for me to get a few kills in. You know, because I mean, this is a complicated aircraft. It's not an easy aircraft to fly. And that's what makes this module wonderful too, because it's not an easy aircraft to fly, but it is intuitive. And when you have that mixture of difficultness, and it still somehow manages to be intuitive, like somehow you know, like when you're coming in to land. Oh, let's look at the control surfaces too. Let me go ahead and slow it down, or let me look at the gear. Slow it down a little bit. Probably over speed, but here's your gear animation. Some people really like to look at that. I mean, there you go, man. Well, we heard a little prop variation in sound there. Yeah, looking good. And then flaps. You've seen the flaps from the outside. I mean, you can see every little ridge line and shadow. So anyway, this is a long review. It wasn't even a review. It's just me chatting. Like I say, I'm not pretending like it's anything special or entertaining. But if you want to buy the P-47, I say it's one of the better ones. Don't, you know, right off the bat, you do get, depending on what maps you own, you know, let's just say you own the Russian map here. It still comes with stuff. Actually, I haven't even looked. So we have missions for, and I think that this is something that goes unsaid a lot of times. I don't understand why, you know, nobody talks about, well, where are the missions? Like, I mean, hey, you spent all this time working on the aircraft, put some missions in there, right? And right off the bat, you'll have missions. It's got a good theme song, like little theme to it. It's a good buy. It's a good buy. I'd say get it, do it. I'm actually blown away. I didn't think I'd like it as much. I've actually gotten sidetracked and have been playing P-47. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope that helps somebody. It looks really great. I'm probably gonna just dogfight again. Yeah, why not dogfight just one more time? But I do need to restart the sim now I think about it, so I will cut this off here. Actually, get the P-47. It's really good. I like it. Sorry, it's like I say, this isn't your typical review. It's just me flying around and talking about shit. So maybe that'll help you, maybe it won't. And either way, take it easy. Hope to see you out in the skies. Peace out.